So for today's video, we are going to be talking about something that's really practical, and it might be a pet peeve of mine, but what we see a lot of is in real estate specifically, we'll say things like, go ahead and remove the contingencies, or go ahead and send this out for signatures. And I understand that as a new agent, you want to know, okay, what does that mean? Like, what do I actually have to do in order to get something signed? And where do I go? Where do I put the signatures? How do I know it's done? And basically, you need the A, B, C, D steps of how to do that. So that's the point of today's video. We're going to be walking you through how to actually send something out for signatures, and I'm going to show you two common examples. The first example is going to be an RPA, so a purchase agreement. You're sending it to your clients. They've agreed on the terms. You've typed the terms into the contract. Now, how do you actually get it out for signatures? And how do you do that in the most professional way possible? And then I'm also going to cover one other scenario, and that is where you receive a counter and they send it as a PDF. So now how do you get that DocuSign? So we're going to kind of go through two related scenarios, but at different stages of the transaction. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my zip forms, and I'm going to access zip forms. Now this video is being recorded in May of 2026. Things may have changed by the time you're watching this video. I try my best to keep these videos updated in case something does change, but the principles should remain relatively the same. Now, and again, this is using DocuSign. This is not using any other signing service. So I'm going to use fake Frank. I always have to use somebody fake because otherwise DocuSign flags it. So let's talk about this. So first of all, I'm always going to talk about this. You always need to have your cover sheet done. So in this cover sheet, for example, I'm going to start a new workspace. I have fake Frank, and his email is here. I have buyer Betty. Let's see. 234 Google. I have buyer Betty, and her email is going to be fakebuyerbetty3@gmail.com. And then I'm realizing I start sending myself too many documents, so I have to kind of cut back on that. Let's go pretend agent at Hotmail. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and save that. So now these are the parties to the contract as far as we're concerned. Doesn't matter who the listing agent is yet, but we're just working with our buyers. So now I save that. I'm gonna go back, and we are gonna be looking at one form first, and that is the RPA. So I'm gonna click on the RPA. I'm gonna open that up. Now, I want to make something clear. So in DocuSign, I know this is confusing to people, but we have two different tabs on the right. On the right, there's kind of two areas. There is a workspace, and then there is just kind of like all the forms. This is my analogy for you. The forms down here are kind of like in your filing cabinet. Whatever it is you want to work on, you're going to have to pull it out of the filing cabinet and drag it up to here. Once it's in your workspace, it's on your desk. Like, it's in front of you, you're actually working on it. So sometimes it'll say, do you want to add this to your desk, or do you want to start a new desk entirely? So right now on my desk, I have the RPA. If I removed it, if I hit the X, now I have nothing on my desk. So I'm going to go here, residential purchase agreement. I'm going to hit the plus sign, and it adds it to my desk. If I also wanted to work on the BRBC, I'm going to add that to my desk as well. Okay, so back to the point, we're only doing the RPA right now, and we're going to DocuSign. We're going to actually get this out for DocuSign. So I'm going to go to prepare signatures. Remember, we're pretending that all this has already been done and all the terms have already been typed in. And it's saying right here, this is going to be e-sign packet number 1. You can name that if you want, but here's the key. You're signing the RPA. I'm going to hit the green next. Now, we're going to be deciding who is going to be signing this form. So obviously, buyer 1 will be a signer. Buyer 2 will be a signer. And then also the agent, you, the buyer's agent, will also be a signer, which is the selling agent, by the way. So I'm going to hit that, and I'm going to hit close. Now I want to call attention to this, because this is deciding the order of signatures, meaning who gets the emails first. In the structure that it defaults to, Frank will get the RPA to sign first. The issue with that is if Frank is not available during that time, but maybe his partner Betty is, she won't get the email because Frank hasn't signed yet. So what I like to do is I like to change them both to the number one position. What that means is they're both getting the documents sent out to them at the same time. Even if Frank doesn't sign for a couple of hours, but Betty does, well, at least she's done her job. Now we're waiting on Frank. The beauty of this is it isn't until both number one positions have signed that the number two person gets it sent to them. Okay. And by the way, if you were to do something like this, where you're also getting it at the same time, I don't like that because it doesn't really give you the final say. And I know that may be a preference, but that's how I like to do it. So I like to do both partners are number one slots, and then I'm always the second. And if there was a third person, you put them in there as well. So now I'm going to hit next because that's who's getting the signatures, or the DocuSign, I should say. Now, the beautiful thing about DocuSign is that because it's going straight from zip forms and car forms right into DocuSign, it has a great smart system where it automatically places the signatures. So you can see here that Frank is in blue, Betty is in purple, and pretend Patricia, the buyer's agent, is in green. And you can kind of see that's going to stay consistent throughout. You can also see that for the most part, it drops the initials right where they need to be. Now, again, this is assuming we already did all the terms right beforehand. And now, again, this is the beauty of DocuSign, and I'm going to allow us to be lulled to sleep for a quick second. So DocuSign on page 1 already dropped the initials. Awesome. Page 2 already did the initials. Easy. Page 3 already did the initials. Lovely. No problem whatsoever. Page 4 already dropped the initials, and now maybe I'm getting kind of bored. Page 5, meh. Let's just keep going. Page 6, now I'm getting distracted. Maybe I'm on my phone. Page 7, this is not a big deal. This is actually getting kind of boring. Page 8, now I'm sending out text messages, and I'm watching Netflix. Page 9, initials are already dropped. Page 10, initials are already dropped right here. Perfect. I actually just want to hurry up because I'm hungry now. 11, initials are already there. 12, initials are already there. 13, initials are already there. Man, let's hurry up because I'm hungry. Page 14, okay, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Page 15, let's keep going. And we just fell into a trap. Because on page 15, if you'll notice, there's actually 1, 2, and 3 locations for the buyer to do an initial. Now, the reason why this could be a trap is because we want this to be a required, but notice how it's a different color. I'll compare these two. They're different colors. One is filled in, one is outlined. If I click on here, you could see that it is a required field, meaning this cannot be completed until Frank initials here. However, this one is not required. It's optional. We don't want it to be optional because the buyers won't know to sign there. They won't, in other words, DocuSign will let them continue and sign everything and send it back to you without actually doing this. Now, why is this so important? Well, this is the liquidated damage clause. So if buyer fails to complete this purchase because of buyer's default, seller shall retain as liquidated damages the deposit actually paid. If the property is a dwelling with no more than 4 units, one of which the buyer intends to occupy, then the amount retained shall be no more than 3% of the purchase price. Any excess shall be returned to the buyer. Okay, so, and there's some more legal terminology in here, but basically, this is putting a cap on how much damage your buyer can take on. This is an absolute yes. We need our buyer to initial that. We do not want them to pass this. Next one is arbitration of disputes. The parties agree that any dispute or claim in law or equity arising between them out of this agreement or any resulting transaction which is not settled through mediation shall be decided by neutral binding arbitration. This is basically agreeing on the articles of war before they open the transaction. This is saying, hey, look, if we can't figure this out, we're going to go to arbitration, or we're going to go to mediation, and then we're going to go to arbitration. So this is kind of creating safe rules of engagement, if you will. So we do want this to be initialed. We're going to click here and we're going to make it required. Now, could they continue without this? They can. You don't want that. But also, almost as kind of a side aspect, side topic is, if I'm the listing agent and I receive an offer and this is not initialed and this is not initialed, number one, I'm probably going to counter and say, hey, please initial these things. But more importantly, number two is, this is going to tell me that I'm dealing with a rookie. This is going to tell me that this agent didn't understand how important this was and either is careless or they just don't know what they're doing. And it's automatically going to raise a yellow flag. I'm going to start to notice everything now. And maybe if all things are equal with you and other offers, I just may choose another offer because they didn't make that mistake. Okay, let's continue because I wanted to make sure that we understood that. It's also going to drop a signature here, date signed here, signature for Betty, date signed there, and then there you are. So remember, you're going to have to sign the RPA, but if you didn't have DocuSign to remind you of this, I would argue some people may forget. So it's going to automatically drop it right here and date signed. Buyer initial goes here as well. And then we are done with the RPA. And then, of course, there's other forms that are currently, as of 2026 in May, are required, okay? I've always told our agents this. You do not necessarily need to go line by line through these forms. Because although your buyer is signing them and dating them, we're talking so many pages to read through. You should be able to summarize these forms. Hey, this is simply stating that there is a very real scenario where I'm working with multiple buyers and multiple sellers all at the same time. I need you to sign and date and acknowledge that. Okay. Hey, this is letting you know that we want to, and we have to follow fair housing rules, and we want to make sure that you understand what that is. Please sign and date. Also, by the way, home insurance, got to make sure you get that. It's not a guarantee. Wire fraud advisory, that happens. Be careful, right? You want to be able to summarize these things. And then once everything is signed or ready to sign, all I'm going to do is hit send. And off it goes. Now, that's one. That is how you sign and send an RPA. Now, let's talk about another scenario that happens very often. We sent that RPA out. Let's fast forward 4 days, 3 days, and we get a seller multiple counter offer. Very exciting, although it's a little confusing because it's not our SMCO, so it's not here. They emailed it to us as a PDF. So what do? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to go to, I already have a sample one. We're going to take the PDF that they sent us and we're going to drop it into the transaction. And I'm going to hit OK. And you'll see, you'll see that we now have an SMCO right here. So what I'm going to have you guys do is you are going to click on the PDF. And now you're going to have your client sign it. But notice this is not going to be as user-friendly because DocuSign can't read a PDF and drop the signatures exactly where they need to go. So again, Betty, Frank, and we're going to close. And I want them to get it at the same time. And we're going to go to next. And this is going to branch into another tool in DocuSign that I really, really, really want us to understand. So they would have already filled this out. They would have put the date. They would have put that this is a counteroffer to the purchase agreement dated blank. They would have had all these things, and this is what their counters were. Highest and best, inspection to be 7 days, close of escrow to be 21 days, okay? Now, here is a few things. Notice that there is no simple place for us to sign. DocuSign didn't put anything for us. We have to manually drop in the signatures. So let's go in order. Here are their terms, other terms, binding effect, expiration. So maybe they gave like a 48 hours. Seller makes this multiple counter offer on the terms of above. So the seller would have signed here and they would have dated here. Now, here is what we would respond to in 6 or 7. right here, acceptance of seller multiple counter offer. Buyer's acceptance of this seller multiple counter offer shall be deemed revoked and or deposit, if any, shall be returned by blah, blah, blah. So it's the expiration date. And then here, acceptance. Buyer accepts the above multiple counter offer. Now, here's the issue. We can't accept this because there's no price. It says highest and best. So we will need to respond. So what do we need to do? We need to check this off. If checked, subject to the attached counteroffer. So how on earth do we do this? Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to drop a text box. Boop. Right in here. And I'm going to not make it required. This is just going to be a part of the contract. So I'm going to put an X. Now I have some pet peeves. I want it to match the rest of the transaction. So I'm going to make it size 10. I'm going to make it bold, and I'm even going to make it navy blue. And I'm actually going to make it, if I can, a little smaller so that we can see it a little bit easier. I'm going to put an X right there. Okay. Also, I might just do a copy paste. I'm going to put another text box right here because we're going to be countering with buyer counter offer number 1, most likely. And we haven't signed it yet, though. So I'm now going to go to Frank, and I'm going to put signature, and I'm going to put date. And I kept the same previous settings. I don't want to do that. There we go. This is a little big. I might make it a little bit smaller. There you go. All right, and then Betty needs to sign it too. So I'm going to take Betty's signature, drop it here, date signed, drop it there. So now what this is saying is, hey, seller, thanks for the seller multiple counter. I've uploaded it. Now we're going to be checking off that we are acknowledging acceptance, but we are countering with buyer counter offer number 1, signed Frank and Betty, and then we're just going to leave it at that. It's fine. We're good. And we're going to send that out. I hope that makes sense. And we're going to send it. Ta-da. So that is how the RPA, although longer, is actually, I'm going to stop share. So although the RPA is a lot longer, right? I think it's 17 pages, DocuSign drops the signatures and the initials and the dates already for you. It makes it really easy. However, when you get a shorter form like an SMCO or a seller counter, and you have to upload it as a PDF, it's a lot more tedious because you have to physically put the signatures and the dates on the PDF. And then you need to make sure you put a text box if you want to put an X or anything like that, and then you send it out. So that is how you're going to be doing signatures. So I hope that was helpful, guys. This is all about e-sign, DocuSign. If you're not using DocuSign, the principles remain the same. And let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching this video on the Realtor Growth Lab.